When you implement something, there's a press release, we've implemented this and that. And then threat actors will just spend day and night to learn how to bypass your security measures or your countermeasures. They have developed this malware wherein we thought that our security solutions would be able to detect and prevent. But as we know how the process of improving security solutions, it has to go through days or even weeks before we are able to implement a patch. But almost every day, there are new malwares, there are new types of malwares, there are new types of malicious softwares that's being propagated in the wild. Social engineering. So we have phishing, smishing, vishing, quishing. Alam niyo yung quishing? Yung QR code naman, no? Padalang ka ng QR code, akala mo yun yung QR code na yun. Pag scan mo, then it goes to the site you think or you thought yun na yung tamang site. So they have almost perfected, no, itong mga social engineering techniques or social engineering attacks. Dati, ang social engineering lang natin ay yung talagang nag-aaral ng social engineering. But today, you can even acquire, no, services to do social engineering for you. Whatever kind of social engineering you wish to create. And if you are going to analyze the value chain of a successful cyber attack, more often than not, compromises or hacking starts with a successful phishing attack. So, you have a 100 million worth of cybersecurity measures or countermeasures. But you also had one employee who got phished. And then that employee became the attack entry point. VPN, for example. One employee got phished. The laptop was compromised. The threat actor was able to get a remote connection to the laptop. This is during pandemic. And then the laptop connected to the company system through VPN. What happened? The threat actor also became part of the virtual private network. And that started the propagation of malwares like ransomware. So, before, when we do risk assessments, computers or laptops or workstations of our employees are always considered low risk, especially if there are no confidential company information in it. Wala pang data privacy noon. Kung walang confidential information, we always consider that as low risk. That's low risk. So all we need there is an antivirus. Oh, we just put them in a segmented network. No? But when threat actors became more and more sophisticated, they also understood that if they're going to attack directly your critical assets, you have your 100 million peso or dollar worth of countermeasures. But let's see, the employee who connects to your network, the employee who connects to your ERP, the employee who connects to your cloud services. Let's see what he or she likes. Who is this guy? She likes signature bags. Let's ask ChatGPT to create a 50% discount for this signature bag. Or the guy likes basketball. The guy likes sports car. Okay? All these messages will be created. And then, when the compromise is successful, then the threat actor now has a zombie inside your network. Now, there are two types of threat actors. One that will make himself known because he wants to extract money from you guys. The other one is someone who doesn't want to make himself known. This is for cyber intelligence purposes. Extracting information day and night. You will never know. Next, botnets for distributed denial of service attacks. Before, in my younger years, we had to find multiple vulnerable machines in the internet where we can exploit, compromise, and use it as a zombie. So if you can compromise 100, 200 computers somewhere else, then you can use them to attack a specific target. But today, for AI-driven botnets, they become more and more powerful to the point where your anti-DDoS hardware will fail because of these highly sophisticated DDoS attacks. So you bought that hardware for thousands of dollars and it will fail if subjected to an AI-driven botnet DDoS attacks. Reconnaissance and data collection. In our younger years, we had to do it manually. If we do want to recon a specific organization or a specific person, we needed to do it manually. Today, AI-powered data mining, very powerful. Just run it 24/7. In 1 week time, you'll have huge amount of information you won't be able to process in 1 month's time. And that information is very powerful when it comes to using it to attack an organization. Surveillance and profiling. Ransomware. I was asked by Joey earlier about cyber insurance. No? Cyber insurance. Recently, we found out that threat actors are now hacking cyber insurance companies. Why? Because they get the list of who are the companies insured by this company. And these are the companies that they will target. Instead of hacking one company and, during negotiation, the ransomware negotiation, the company will just say, I'm sorry, we cannot pay you, we don't have any money. Okay. So we move from one target to another. But this one, cyber insurance companies, if they are able to compromise, they'll see the list. Company 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All of them have insurance. Let's send the ransomware in these companies. And if the company will say, we don't have money, oh, here's your policy. You have insurance. Right? They are smarter. They think smart. They're critical thinkers. What we've seen in this type of, because we do ransomware negotiation, these hackers, during the hacking period, these guys are very technical. But once the ransomware is planted, the ransom message is sent, they shift from being technical to businessman. They now become businessmen. Now you negotiate. How much can you pay? Right? So that's the evolution on the threat actor side. What about on the defender side? The cyber defenders are still worried about their weekends, worried about holidays, work-life balance. See that? That is the evolution on the threat actor side. On the cyber defender side, there's none. We only have the same thinking as before. Now, we want to use AI for proactive cyber defense, we have to understand first how the attack surface looks like today, and what are the attack entry points. Because it's not just about, let's get the solution because it has AI. Okay, is it covering the whole organization? Is it covering the whole environment? Is AI now protecting the whole enterprise because you have this solution that has AI? No. First, desktop and laptops. I mentioned before, these were considered low risk in the early years of information security. But today, it started a few years back, this has become a very important asset in the organization in the perspective of it being an attack entry point. Every laptop you connect to my network, I will be able to control. I will have visibility. Because if not, that laptop or that desktop will become an attack entry point. So what do we put there? Okay, there were products earlier that can be deployed in the endpoint side that can prevent malware infection and drive-by download kind of attacks. But as we mentioned, if this is AI-driven, if these solutions are AI-driven, we should no longer need human resource to protect these assets. Otherwise, why are you getting an AI-driven solution if you still need the human resource? Right? So in cybersecurity, you need AI to combat AI. You don't want half AI, half human combating AI. Next, mobile devices, another attack entry point. One company went down because one mobile device was compromised. Is there a solution right now that can protect mobile devices? What kind of antivirus do you have in your mobile device? Or EDR in your mobile device? There's none. How much more an EDR or AV that is AI-driven? When is that coming out? Right? A simple lending app installed in your computer that's extracting all your contacts. No one is developing that solution. IoT devices. How many IoT devices that has the power to run an antivirus or an EDR solution? None. IoT is like your refrigerator connected to your Wi-Fi, your coffee, your smart TV, your smart aircon. One of the big grocery companies in the US was compromised because the attack went through the air-conditioned system, who is connected to the network. You cannot deploy antivirus, you cannot deploy EDRs in this solution, in these assets, because the processing powers are very limited. The memory is very limited. Is there a company that's currently developing these solutions? None. But we are widely using this kind of devices in our houses, in our offices, and in every environment. Network. So your local area network. You're using network devices. I provide an example here when Cisco hardware was compromised. And it's not just Cisco, other hardwares also were compromised. Right? wireless, Wi-Fis. How do you secure your Wi-Fis? How do you protect your Wi-Fi network from the evil twin attack? Are you familiar with the evil twin attack? It's not connecting direct or attacking directly your Wi-Fi. Someone will create the same Wi-Fi with the same SSID as your Wi-Fi. And if your employee is closer to the evil twin Wi-Fi, the laptop of your employee will connect automatically to that same SSID, thinking that it's the same Wi-Fi. Your employee will now connect to your network, to your domain, to your email, or worse, to the employee's bank accounts. No one is safe with that evil twin attack. 100% successful attack. Your countermeasures won't be able to detect that. VPNs. How many VPN-related incidents have occurred? In our previous company, we removed our VPNs. Now, VPN was designed to allow our remote users before to be able to access our internal assets. The security mindset during the time when this was designed is, okay, because my network is secure, since you are far, far away, I will include you in my network. This was okay when the threat actors were not hacking our endpoints. The threat actors were not interested in hacking our users. But when the threat actors started to hack our users, every remote asset that you include in your internal network became an entry point of the threat actor. And that is a fact. Right? Servers. All these web application layer attacks, all these network or OS layer attacks. Again, you have the best countermeasure. You have the best AI. But our AIs need to be updated all the time. It is not a one-time, big-time deployment wherein the AI can already fight and combat new threats in the next few weeks, in the next few months, or next year. That's where the human intervention comes in. We need humans to improve our AIs. And in an organization where you have change management policies, you have change management processes, you cannot improve your AI when you want to, because you have to get all the approvals from the different department heads. And that would take how many weeks? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Whatever it is a window of opportunity for threat actors. It becomes a window of opportunity for threat actors. But we have to follow the process, because what happened during the CrowdStrike global IT outage might also happen to us. We cannot just implement patches. Right? Otherwise, that global IT outage will reoccur. Same with database servers, mail servers, DNS servers, all these servers, no? Cloud services. How good are your cloud services, or are your cloud service providers in cybersecurity? Are they good? But you ask them, they are good. That's always the default answer. We are the best. But what's happening now? if all these providers, if all these vendors are really becoming super intelligent or super good, let us consider the amount of data that's been stolen year on year since 2010, and the amount of money that's been stolen due to cyber attacks year on year since 2010. If you're going to do that analysis, it's growing year on year. The size of data stolen is growing, increasing. Money involved in cyber attacks is also growing. Right? But yes, the solutions are becoming more and more intelligent. The solutions are becoming more and more AI-driven. But it is not the only thing that an organization needs. There's more to do that. Your cloud applications. Before, we only had virtual machines. Now, we have containers in the cloud. When containers first came out, you cannot deploy an agent to protect that asset. But at least today, there are already solutions that are capable in running in a containerized environment, at least on the asset level. Social engineering, as mentioned earlier, is also another form of attack entry point. Pretexting, baiting, tailgating, all this has something to do with culture. How do we change the culture? How do we create a cybersecurity culture? How do we create employees who can think about cybersecurity first before anything else? And how many companies are doing that? Are you doing that in your own company? Oh, we're just a small company. Right? Then you are a probable victim. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. So if you buy AI for proactive defense, definitely it will make a difference. Especially in real-time threat detection. And we have used this. Real-time threat detection. But for the AI to be able to detect something as a threat, it has to have a basis, a use case. It's not like deploying your AI and the AI doesn't understand, is this a threat or no? Oh, this might be a threat. Oh, this might be. Then you'd end up having thousands or even tens of thousands of false positives. So there has to be a source of your AI. Your AI must be able to understand this is a threat. This one is not. This is okay. This process is okay. But threat actors also can mimic the process. They will not launch a process that is obviously detected as malicious. So they also have their way to mimic these processes that can or might confuse the countermeasure, which is your AI. Next, automated incident response. This is why we don't need humans if we have AI. Because it can respond automatically. In our previous job, our SLA to respond to an alert or an incident is max of 1 minute. Max of 1 minute. AI can respond in milliseconds. Our record is close to 50 seconds. But this one AI Especially if the AI is driven by playbooks. Who creates the playbooks? The humans create the playbooks. What if AI can create playbooks? In our experience, the team that are creating playbooks and use cases, they create maximum of 100 use cases or playbooks a day. But if AI can create 1,000, 1 million, 10 million playbooks or use cases a day, this is a game changer. But where are you going to put this AI? Are you going to put this AI in your endpoint security? Are you going to put this AI in your server security? Because this will definitely increase the utilization, the processor utilization, or probably the memory utilization. So where are you going to put this type of AI? Advanced threat prediction. Predict the threats long before it arrives in your environment. Where is this AI? We were doing predictive security before, but in a humanly manner. We create partnerships, we subscribe to threat intelligence sources so we can predict the threats. But if AI can do this advanced threat prediction, nanood ba kayo ng Minority Report ni Tom Cruise? Diba? Matagal na diba? The purpose of that Minority Report is to prevent crimes from happening. So pag iniisip pa lang ng tao na papatay siya, madidetect na nila. Ito siguro, advanced threat prediction. Iniisip pa lang ng hacker na atakihin ka, mape-predict na ni AI. No? But this type of threat prediction is still source-based. If there are threats happening in other countries, then our AI might be able to get that. So that when it is used against us, we already improve our preventive and detective measures. Scalability. How many incident responders can you hire in this country? The real ones, very few. Very few. So we hire those who are trainable. We train them for 6 months. They become incident responders and incident analysts for the next 6 months. They become better in the next 1 year. After that, they're gone. That's normal. I mean, that's okay if you have constant supply. If you don't, then you're gonna have months of not being able to do incident response. What about digital forensic investigators? It's very few. What about threat intelligence operators? Very few. SOC operators? Very few. Right? But with AI, scalability issue won't be an issue. Behavioral analysis. AI, if perfected, can become a very good behavior analyst internally and externally. So, if you do this in a humanly manner, you get all the processes. These are every day, these are the thousands, hundreds of thousands process. Okay, these are all good processes. But you have to have a team to monitor these processes 24/7. When a new process is injected, you will have to question everyone. What was changed? Because there is a high probability that that new process is a malicious process. Especially if you have a very strong change management policy, wherein no one makes any change or changes for that matter without getting approval from the cybersecurity group. But for you to ask all, that's gonna be a problem. But with AI, it will be able to, it should be able to analyze and respond in milliseconds when there are processes that deviates from the normal 24/7 process. Reduction of false positives. It is possible to have 0 false positives, but very difficult if you do it manually. But with AI, because of the huge amount of data we provide the AI, it is possible, or it should be possible, to have a 0 false positive environment. Efficient handling of large data volumes. I just mentioned earlier that we had close to 400,000 assets. So we ingest logs, traffic logs, process logs, etc. And this AI is a very big help to handle all this huge amount of data without the need to have a human being do the manual processing. Threat hunting automation. Threat hunting is a very, very tedious job because you need to do this every minute in your environment, especially if you have thousands of assets. So these are the crawlers inside your environment. We do threat hunt to every asset. Mayroon bang bagong file na na-create dyan? Mayroon bang bagong file na na-download dyan? Mayroon bang bagong process na nangyari dyan? And then correlate that with known threats in our threat intelligence database and outside threat intelligence database. For AI or with AI, this threat hunting, automated threat hunting capability should improve how we identify existing threats in our environment. Sorry. Now, the question really is, when can we have this AI that can cover all attack entry points? Because if you only have AI in 1, 2, 3 attack entry points, no AI in other attack entry points, then that's still a big problem. And when can we have that AI that can centrally control, manage, and operate all AIs in all attack entry points? Because you cannot have one AI in this attack entry point silo, one AI in this attack entry point, another silo, one AI. Then you have a lot of AIs in your environment without centrally controlling all the AIs. If humans will control all these AIs, then you have half AI, half human operated cybersecurity practice in your environment. But one thing that we are sure of today is that the threat actors are already using AI to advance their hacking activities, and they are very successful. So we need to move fast, or even faster. So bad AI versus good AI. Saan ka pupusta? Ha? Kung pustahan to, saan ka pupusta? Sa bad AI o sa good AI? Bad AI kasi. Nananalo ng bad AI today. No? But sabi nga nila, habang may buhay, may pag-asa. We hope to really improve. I apologize if the way I present cybersecurity to you is on the negative side. But this is the actual scenario right now. Our cyberspace is very vulnerable. Our cyberspace is not improving when it comes to cybersecurity. We have improved the budget. We have improved the skills at some level, but in totality, there is still a huge amount of security flaw within our cyberspace. And when I say cyberspace, it's your home's network, your office network, your gadget, your laptop. When you connect that to the internet, that is our cyberspace. So when you sleep tonight, you ask yourself, pupusta ba ako sa bad AI or sa good AI? Thank you very much.